Welcome back, pod people. Today's guest is Len Kabasinski, the king of independent micro-budget action genre films. In a career spanning at least 17 years, he's made over a dozen movies, from his first film Swamp Zombies to his most recent film Pact of Vengeance, available now on patreon.com/killerwolffilms, which released July 1st, 2022, and is currently exclusively on Patreon as of the recording of this, although by the time you listen to it, it might have been picked up by a distributor. Let's see. So, Len, is it okay if I call you Len?
That's perfect, yeah.
Great. So, Len, in Pact of Vengeance, you directed a wide variety of people with like interesting and diverse backgrounds. You've got the actor musician John Micklethor, the adult actress turned more mainstream actress Lisa Neild. You've got professional wrestlers Pretty Peter Avalon and Diamante, and you've got martial artists such as yourself and the late great Leo Fong. And so what I'm curious about is, when you're directing people with all of those different backgrounds, either in other forms of action or not in any form of action at all, what do you need to do differently to get the sort of performances that you want out of them in those different action scenes?
Well, first off, thanks, Thomas, for having me on and thinking of my works. I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much. But in terms of, I've used wrestlers, independent wrestlers, professional wrestlers, and by the difference, I mean, they're all professional wrestlers, you know what I mean? Whether they're doing shows in somebody's garage or not, it seems like these days. But I've worked with guys from WWE or AEW, obviously, all kinds of different federations and stuff through the years. And martial artists, of course, it's very easy for me normally to put my friends involved and have a lot of martial arts experience and things like that. So the primary reason I use guys like that, especially for action scenes, is because they know how to fall generally. And we're not talking about stuntmen coming in from Hollywood. They're used to falling if they're, or how to take falls in martial arts or rolling and things like that. Same, obviously, with professional wrestling, probably even more so than martial arts in that faction, when you're taking bumps, working with people and stuff like that. So a lot of that kind of stuff translates over. And what a lot of people don't know about me kind of thing is I got my start in theater. So I'm a stage choreographer first for fight scenes. So I've choreographed slapstick comedies, I've choreographed Shakespearean plays, you name it. I've probably choreographed it at some point. I've done Carrie, the musical. I've done all kinds of different styles in genres, basically. So to put it all together, really, it's about the choreographer, and, I'm choreographing fight scenes to what I think they can do. If the great Leo Fong, I miss you, buddy. If Leo Fong can't do a spinning back kick, I'm not going to give him a spinning back kick at 93 years old. I'm going to give him something I feel he can have success with in a fight scene. And a lot of times, Leo had more of a boxing background to start. And Bruce Lee, and off he went into his martial art endeavors as well. But that, and he was with Ron Marchini from Karate Cop. They own schools together and stuff like that out in California there. So ever since, he kind of got away, not so much got away from boxing, because I think he mixed that in with his own martial arts system he was developing there. But
Wei Kuen Do, if I recall correctly, right?
Correct. You are absolutely correct. Yes. And he kind of put it all together. And I remember when he told me, he's like, Len, he's got a kind of a Southern accent, Leo does. And he's like, yeah, Len, I'm talking to Bruce and stuff. And Bruce is like, why are you doing this or doing that? He's, all this styles and stuff, or why are you training in all these different styles? And Leo was like, well, Bruce, I'm looking for the ultimate, man. And Bruce Lee had told him, he pointed to Leo's chest and he said, the ultimate's in you. Not all these other things you're trying to grab onto to see if it develops you, but it's in you to start. And that kind of, I know why he told me that, because Leo is the quintessential independent filmmaker, if not, maybe not micro budget filmmaker, but from the 70s. In the 70s, you couldn't make a movie for $30,000 or anything like that. I mean, not really.
You had to buy film.
Yeah, you had to use 35 millimeter film, or at worst 16 millimeter. But even really, if you did that, you weren't going very far back then. So 35 millimeter was the standard and stuff. But right, to make a long story short, with your original question is, normally I'm choreographing to what I know each participant or each actor or actress can do. Lisa Neld, Playboy centerfold there. She's a pretty athletic woman, but at the same time, I'm not giving her super complex, intricate martial art choreography or wrestling, grappling choreography or anything like that. But you'll see it for yourself in Pact of Vengeance. But she's done fight scenes for me in the past, but she's got a rather unique one in Pact.
Yeah. Which I have already seen, and I advocate that my listeners also go check it out. Yeah, so that's interesting. You brought up choreography. It sounds like you're largely designing towards the actors.
Yes.
I'm curious also if you could talk about designing towards the characters, because for me, the biggest difference between what's just like a good action film and a great action film is how the action set pieces really serve the characters and the story. And so, to give two contrasting examples, I really loved all of the different distinct action set pieces in Challenge of Five Gauntlets.
Thank you. That was very intentional. Thank you.
Great, yeah. And in contrast, in something that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has been getting flack for recently, and especially a few years ago, it came out that in Black Widow and Black Panther, there were several fight scenes in there where the fight scenes were written and choreographed before they wrote the script and before they hired the director. And so they seemed like out of place in the film and didn't really serve the characters or serve the story. And so I was wondering if you could comment a bit on what you like to keep in mind, what sort of methods you use to make sure that the action scenes aren't just superfluous.
First off, I know a little bit about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I grew up collecting Marvel comics. That was kind of my thing. And I feel they've done three characters I really, really love to death a disservice. So if the Marvel executives are listening to this podcast, if you will, give me Danny Rand, Iron Fist, and let me do this correctly and give the people what they want. So I'm positive I can do this. So give me the budget, and please give me Danny Rand from Iron Fist, and I will correct that travesty that it was on Netflix. Sorry if you liked it, people, but I thought it was very, very, very pedestrian at best. Also, Johnny Blaze, give me Ghost Rider. I've ridden motorcycles my whole life, things like that. I feel they did it a disservice. I know everybody loves Nick Cage. I do too, but he's too old to play Ghost Rider and things like that. Give me the story of Ghost Rider, and I'll put back in the more of that origin tale that I feel they kind of missed the boat on maybe a little bit in those movies and stuff like that. But those are two for sure. And I'll just throw in one because I'm always advocating for this to be a movie. But now with the way that these films go, I'm not so sure I would want it unless somebody like me does it, or somebody with a history of kind of B action, give them a budget. ROM Space Knight is something I always wanted to see. I feel I can really do that justice. So Iron Fist, ROM, Ghost Rider, those are the three I would pick. And I know people thinking of me think, well, he would pick Shang-Chi or something like that. Well, no, Iron Fist is my martial art guy, you know what I mean? But the other ones I would pick are ROM Space Knight, and I'm sure I would put some martial arts in that film as well. But Ghost Rider. But yeah, in terms of putting and choreographing, again, you got to choreograph to what the actor's abilities are. But when you're writing a character, like you mentioned in Gauntlets, everything was very calculated what we did. There's a fight scene where I got a permit and I fight this ninja character on the beach. So naturally, we want to make sure she has the proper weapon. That's a ninja katana blade and stuff like that. So that's stuff we think about. People might not think so because they're used to being introduced to Len by, my early films that, have a lot to be desired kind of thing. But, that doesn't mean we didn't think about stuff back then. We just couldn't pull it off maybe, and maybe I still can't. But we definitely thought about it as we were doing films like that. The ninjutsu character, we knew what kind of strikes and punches she would do in that character in Challenge of Five Gauntlets. The guy from South Africa that has the Avenging Force white mask on that he fights in the woods kind of thing. all those moves and stuff like that. It's all that stuff was calculated in choreography. You can really see the difference in Challenger 5 Gauntlets when I fight the character played by Tim O'Hearn, who plays the Scot, where he's in the lumber yard and stuff like that. And his character is just meant to be a big brawler type person. And that was very conscious in the choreography, where my character of Kane goes in with a lot of high flying choreography, martial art type stuff, but he's really wrestling this brawling wrestler guy. So it very much makes up the character. But something I've really tried to do in the past couple years, it's a few years now, I can't believe it's been going on 6 years since Blood Prism, a movie I did, Blood Prism, which is not an action movie, not a martial art movie, but you mentioned choreography, fitting characters, and that kind of development. But I also think lighting can do that. And in the movie Blood Prism, I really tried to make the Giallo lighting its own character in the movie kind of thing when it happens. And whether I'm successful at that or not, that's up to the viewers. But I think all those things can really go a long ways in terms of putting those characters where you want them to be in your story and in your direction.
Yeah, I haven't seen Blood Prism yet. I definitely want to. You've made over a dozen movies, I think, so I haven't gotten around to all of them yet.
Yeah, I think I don't know, 16, 17, I don't know, something like that. I don't
nearly one
watch
a year.
Early stuff very much anymore. I appreciate people that find it and still watch it, but really the stuff that I keep pushing people to watch is after maybe 2000.
After Angel of Reckoning, I believe.
After Angel of Reckoning, or Angel of Reckoning and on, because Angel of Reckoning, I feel, was a real turning point in terms of quality for our stuff.
Yeah. So speaking of your history with micro budget filmmaking and more broadly, there's a long grand history of independent filmmaking on very low budgets like this, from the early days of John Waters and Ed Wood, where John Waters got around that 35 millimeter film being expensive limitation by stealing some 35 millimeter film from someone who could afford it, all the way to the invention of the VHS with Sledgehammer in 1983.
Oh, sure. And Pryor. David Pryor did that film. Sledgehammer.
Yeah. And then more recently, films like Tangerine, released in 2015, which was shot on an iPhone, and films like Host, released in 2020, which was filmed over a video call like this. And then other films like Corona Zombies, also released in 2020, which was made by just a bit of filming, mostly in somebody's house, and then using other footage from older films that they purchased the rights to. It seems like independent filmmaking is more accessible from a technological and financial perspective than ever. And as I believe your early films were shot on video. Is that right?
Yes. Swamp Zombies was the only one shot on non-24p, and then the rest of them were all 24p type cameras. Swamp Zombies, I still have the camera. It's the Canon GL2. Even for back then, it was not a high definition camera, but a nice camera for back then, just not a nice camera to like shoot films on and stuff like that. But for just a prosumer camera and stuff, I thought the GL2 was fine. But after that, we went to the DVX 100A, which I thought, for what it was, actually had a decent film look quality to it. I bought it off of a biker dude that was shooting documentaries for the Discovery Channel, and he said, "Hey, you give me $1,000 for this DVX 100A." I said, "Sure." And then Curse of the Wolf, Fist of the Vampire, Wendigo, Bound by Blood. There was tons of films I did that I shot on the DVX 100A, and Warriors of the Apocalypse, or much better re-released as Apocalypse Female Warriors. That was split between the DVX 100A and the HVX 2000 or whatever they called it, the HD version there. So but then, going into Angel of Reckoning, it's still video. We used the Canon G20, which I thought was a really nice looking, versatile camera. Again, we don't have the interchangeable lenses and stuff on a camera like that, but it still had some depth of field. You just had to be creative with your zooms and how the distance you are from your subject from the background, all that kind of stuff. And I feel we pulled some good tricks with the G20 on Angel of Reckoning. And I have a G21, which I didn't even use on any of the films, I don't believe. So, but the last few films, the Canon, oh shit, what is it? It's an HD camera. We filmed Gauntlets on it. We filmed Hellcat's Revenge 2 on it. Swamp Zombies 2 was filmed on it. The name of the camera escapes me, but yeah, it's one of the Canon interchangeable lenses. We went in with 35 millimeter, 85 millimeter, and 24 millimeter lenses. But Pact of Vengeance was the first time we used a 4K camera. We used the Blackmagic, Pocket Blackmagic camera. And again, same amount of lenses, a 24, a 35, and an 85. And yeah, in 4K, it was an experience for sure. But the first film I did in 4K was actually Pact of Vengeance.
Cool.
C100 is the Canon I'm thinking of. I'm sorry. The Canon C100.
C100
is what Swamp Zombies 2, Challenger 5 Gauntlets, and Hellcat's Revenge 2 were all shot on the Canon C100.
All right. Thank you. I'll definitely look into those cameras. That's really interesting.
The Canon C100 is HD, but you're not going to get 4K. And the way things are going now, there's 6K cameras out there, for God's sake. I mean, you know what I mean? The C100 is going to go by the wayside quickly, but it does look good. But at the same time, if I had to give advice to somebody, look into the 4K and 6K stuff now. If it's got interchangeable lenses, that's the way you should probably go.
Yeah, looks like Blackmagic has released a 6K version of that very camera. So,
yep.
All right. So, what do you think is coming next in the field of low budget filmmaking, aside from using 6K cameras?
If I had to guess, it's probably a continuation of some kind of digital revolution in terms of like special effects and stuff. I know in the horror community, nobody wants to see a lot of digital effects and stuff, but sometimes it's a necessity. You can't really get around it. The same in action movies. I think what it's going to have is the lower budgeted we go. I mean, for action movies, how many explosions in a low budget action movie did they call in a pyrotechnician, bring in 5,000 worth of explosives, pay him $2,500 just to blow one thing up? How many low budget, micro budget people do that? Not very many. You're getting a stock footage or you're doing a digital effect. And I think the digital effects, if I had to pick, are something that is going to improve in terms of quality for micro budget filmmakers, just like cameras have done. You know, we're not filming on super VHS. We're not Killer Nerd anymore, and you know, that kind of thing. So yeah, I think if I had to pick something I think will improve drastically over the next 5 years, it's probably access to true good digital effects work.
Okay, interesting, neat. Yeah, I'll keep that in mind as well. Aside from you, the other micro budget action film studio that I pay a lot of attention to is Wakaliwood. Have you heard of these guys?
I have not, but I just did from you. So continue.
Oh man. Okay. So I definitely recommend checking them out. They're started by one guy, and then like the few people that he's taught and got to help him out. They're based out of Wakaliga, Uganda, and they make action films and things in a variety of genres, but typically more like grounded action or drama. And they the sort of probably their most famous tagline is "Everyone in Uganda knows Kung Fu."
Oh, sure.
And they make extremely low budget. Like I'm not actually sure these days what people mean when they say micro budget, but like the budget for their first film was $80.
Yeah. Yeah. That would fall micro budget to me. When you talk micro budget, we're talking $0 to up to, I would say, probably anything less than six figures is probably more micro budget cinema.
Okay.
You get up and above $100,000,
Yeah.
I would say that's more of a B movie, low budget movie. Anything from $100,000 to maybe $5 or $6 million would still be a low budget film. But really anything under six figures, I would say, is like micro budget cinema.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely recommend checking out Wakaliwood stuff. Their first film is available for free on their YouTube channel. It's Who Killed Captain Alex? And it's one of my favorite action movies of all time. They do an amazing job with just one camera, no budget, and just some really dedicated people who know kung fu. And because they're not constantly doing like a bunch of, close-ups and cuts back and forth and shaky cam the way that a lot of modern mainstream action is filmed, instead there's a lot of wide shots. You can really see everything that's going on, and it's really enjoyable.
Yeah, well, I mean, some of the times, you look at a film like Fight Club or something like that from years ago with Brad Pitt. I mean, they use a lot of creative editing, stuff like that. You get some of the shaky cam stuff and some of not just that film, but other films where, well, that's usually for people where they're trying to mask that they can't really fight, kind of thing.
Exactly.
That's how you can mask that kind of stuff, with pushing zooms and digital zooms and shaky cam and all that kind of stuff. You're just trying to cover up. You don't want to double the actor, because a lot of times that's not accepted anymore. A lot of times you have to do some of your own stunts and things, especially in like fight action type work. It's just too poor looking. I mean, look at some of the shitty Steven Seagal movies on video when he's double. I mean, you can clearly
oh my gosh,
clearly that's a drinking game right there. Pick one video Seagal film from the last, say, 15 years and have a shot every time he's doubled in a fight scene. So,
oh man,
just a low proof alcohol probably if you try that, because you will be dead by the end of the so, use common sense there, people.
Yeah, that's something I really enjoy about independent action films, like the stuff that you and the folks at Wakali would make, is that the people are not cast for being like, this is a big name person, and then we'll find a way to cover up that they can't fight. They're cast as, this is a person who can fight, right. and then we'll make the movie around them.
That's right. That's intentional. Yep.
Yeah. So I have a few questions left, and it looks like we have time for at least a few of them. So you've created sort of action genre films a lot, where you make like it's a horror movie that has action in it. And this podcast is largely about horror, though I'm taking the opportunity to talk with anyone I can about filmmaking. When you're making a horror film and you have action in it like that, how do you keep the action from reducing the tension and sort of sense of danger and vulnerability that's necessary for horror to really be affecting?
Yeah, what I do, that's all, I think, more in pacing of each picture kind of thing. You really need to check out Blood Prism, because that is my, like, if I did an art house horror film, it would be Blood Prism. There's no fight scenes in it. It's all lighting, and really in Blood Prism, because there isn't fight scenes to pace the picture. What paces the picture? What are those high spots? Are like gore scenes, death scenes, special effects, practical special effects. There is no digital in Blood Prism at all. So, those scenes, the nudity elements and stuff in a picture like that, which Blood Prism is very heavy on, those kinds of things are pacing in place of action fight scenes that I would do in an action style picture. Okay. I think that's what you really have to do, is mold and pace things. And that is something I'm very aware of in editing and stuff. I want something to happen in an action film every 7 or 8 minutes. I don't care if it's a nude scene. I don't care if it's a fight scene. It's got to be something that gets your attention going, and it's just not endless talking. I've seen I watch a lot of Tubi TV, because their library's massive and they do a lot of low budget work or acquisitions. But man, some of the shit is just so flippin' boring. There's been a lot of boring stuff, and I thought, man, so I hope if people are diving into my works, they really think about something like that. If it's one thing I'd like to, people to see my works and say, well, it's not boring, at least, a kind of thing. And I'm very cognizant about, every X number of minutes, I want something happening to pace everything along. But in terms of true horror, I think action and zombies kind of lend themselves together there in terms of an action picture. There's not too many zombie drama films that I think would really mesh well with like crazy fight scenes and stuff like that. But something like Swamp Zombies and stuff, or Swamp Zombies 2 especially, where we get into more comic book looking lighting. I mean, Swamp Zombies 2, if you've ever seen it, in my opinion, I think we did a good job with that kind of stuff, because I feel like it looks like a comic book kind of thing. And we were really cognizant about the old EC comics and things like that. I know the writer of the film, Mr. Wallen there, was really into EC comics and wanted Swamp Zombies 2 to have that kind of look. So, and it goes back to what I was saying, you're developing lighting with, fight scenes and things like that to create characters and things.
Yeah, I noticed some of the comic book inspired things, including in I think it was Pact of Vengeance, where there were sort of split screen effects going on that reminded me of Ang Lee's Hulk movie, where it looked like you were imitating the structure of comic book panels, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, with Pact of Vengeance, what we did there was, this is long before even filming began, and I'm talking to editor Steven Steinbacher, who also shot the picture. A lot of times that's what I try to do, is have my photographer also be the editor if they have those skills. It's a nice mix to have, because then they're on set filming everything, so they see it, and then when they get to the editing room, they know what they've done because they've shot it, kind of thing. So
a continuous vision.
Yeah, and long before Pact started filming, I said to Steven, I was like, Steven, I really want this. The story I'm going to give you is a very 80s simple story picture, much like a Death Wish 3 would be, or something like that. Crazy. Annihilators, probably more of an influence on me, the 1986 film with Christopher Plummer, The Annihilators. But
I was going to say, yeah, Pact of Vengeance did reminded me, the two movies that came to mind when I was watching it were Annihilators and The Expendables.
Annihilators definitely was a heavy, I would say, influence on it. Without, the story itself isn't too much like it overall, but it's that beat up the neighborhood, round a group together kind of thing, and take out some punks kind of thing. So that's there, yeah, that's kind of. Go back to your original question there for me.
Oh, I was asking about
Oh, I know where I was going with that thought, actually.
Go.
Right, with Annihilators and stuff like that we mentioned, I had told Steven the story is going to be right out of an 80s picture like those. But I really want the look of the picture to be like Tony Scott's Domino, which is in the 2000s there, or maybe 2004, 2005. The look of the picture I wanted to be more modern looking, with the story being an 80s picture kind of thing. So that's what we tried to accomplish there, and what Steven did. And I think he did a really great job at creating that feel for this picture.
Yeah. So you've been making about one movie a year for 17 years. What's next? Are we looking for a sequel to Pact of Vengeance? It seemed like it was sort of setting that up.
We have talked about it. I have talked to John Mickle-Thor just a couple days ago about it. As you know, we've lost Leo Fong, but yes. I had talked to John, and he was interested in taking Leo's spot kind of as the commander of the Obliterators and the Pact of Vengeance kind of ongoing thing if it happens. But it really depends on budgetary things too. It really does. The days of me working overtime at nursing homes trying to fund my pictures for like $8,000 and stuff, those days have to be gone. I think we can get a budget of 50,000 or something like that, which still isn't. We had a budget of almost 40. I raised close to 30, I think, for Pact, but then I put in 10 of my own. But now with things, I don't know. We'd have to be able to say we can raise a budget. But on the flip side of that, we're trying to sign the film with some different distributors. Pact is still undergoing some audio work now, so who knows where that's going to fall. I'm hoping it'll be done here within a few weeks here, but we'll see what happens. But because I haven't even sent it to distributors yet until it's at its absolute best. I don't want a distributor to come back to me and say, well, the audio's not mixed here or something. Okay.
Okay.
Well, I knew that and I didn't do it, kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
That's supposedly being done. So hopefully a few weeks. And then the minute that's ready, off it goes to distributors. And hopefully it's something I would like to get in with Tubi somehow. I know Tubi is slapping a Tubi original stuff on some of their films. I could see Pact of Vengeance being marketed as like a Tubi original. I think it fits very well with what they're trying to do in the horror bracket with some of their shitty shark movies and things that they've slapped the Tubi original on. And I could see Pact fitting in nicely in the action category as like a Tubi original. But I know somebody from Crackle TV was interested in it and things like that. But I really want to get the movie sounding its best. It's going to play a couple film festivals in August here, and we'll see what happens. But as of what's next, I would, it's kind of one of those things where if a distributor signs it and then wants me, if they want to produce a sequel and say, Len, we'll give you X amount, here you go. Here's a producer for you that will make these phone calls and, show up in Arizona, Len. They got a set for you. And I really want to work with a producer from out there, which gets the things going for me so I can focus more on story and direction and things like that. But obviously I drop everything and do that if somebody's going to produce Pact of Vengeance, a sequel to it. If not, I will probably backtrack and do something more low key. I was co-writing a script called Demoniac, which I wouldn't have to have a humongous budget to film. So maybe I go back to my really micro budget roots there and do that instead. But we'll see. That's set in the world of like live theater and stuff, which I know a little bit about. But it's kind of a ghost haunting demon kind of movie there. So, but that's something I could film on a relatively low budget. I couldn't do it for like 5,000, but I could do it on a much smaller scale kind of thing. 15,000, 20,000. I could probably get Demoniac looking pretty good. But
Cool.
Pact of Vengeance, a sequel, I would need a larger budget for.
Yeah, Demoniac sounds interesting. The premise that you just described reminds me of Dario Argento's Opera.
Yes, it won't be. It doesn't have influence of that, but yet that world that it's set in is kind of similar. Yes.
Yeah, cool. And that I like opera, but I don't like its soundtrack at all because it strangely doesn't use opera. It's just this not very good rock and roll. But speaking of better rock and roll, do you think you could get the original song from Pact of Vengeance that John Micklethor wrote? Could we get that on Spotify or YouTube or someplace so that I could listen to it?
It might be on there already. It might be on YouTube. I don't know. I'd have to ask Ted, who co-wrote that song with Thor. He's in Pact of Vengeance as a character as well. He's
cool.
The black light drug den sequences and stuff. He's got like a biker vest on. He's kind of a tall, thin guy. But Ted co-wrote that. And he's actually, I believe, the bassist for Thor when he tours in the U.S. here. So we had some of Thor's, along with John Leibel. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, John. But John did some of the music on the soundtrack. He wrote the song in the pool hall, the rock song that's playing when Peter Avalon's fighting and stuff like that in that scene. So yeah, we had some of Thor's bandmates in the film doing some songs. Thor did some songs. His songs, Bounty Hunter. I'm sorry, Bounty Tracker is a really cool movie with Lorenzo Lamas and Matthias Hughes from 1993. Go check it out. But Bounty Hunter is the song by Thor that plays right at the beginning of the movie, kind of thing. So, and then he has another song, We Will Fight Forever. Those two songs are on his new album Alliance, which just came out not too long ago, a couple months ago or so.
Okay, cool. And then I was going to ask you to just talk about Leo Fong for a long time, but I don't think we have time for that. So instead, my last question, have you played any role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons, things like that?
Yeah, when I was younger, my cousin was really into it. So when I had somebody to hang out with that did those kinds of things, I enjoyed it. I was more an Atari 2600 guy. And then when my brother, with his first Holy Communion money, bought an original NES or whatever they call the first Nintendo system there, kind of where you blew on the cartridges and stuck it.
Yeah. Nintendo Entertainment System.
Yeah. We did all that stuff, and then Sega and stuff. We were all into that, playing the Joe Montana football games and things. The Streets of Rage 2 was one of our favorite games to play. So instead of more role-playing stuff, I was definitely more into like video game play back then, kind of thing. So long time ago. I still got my Atari 2600. So. Okay.
All right. All right, then in that case, I sort of predict the answer to this next question will be no, but I myself am a game designer. I've released several games, and my next one, which you can see the poster for in the background here, is Fear of the Unknown. It's a role-playing game where basically you write a B movie together over the course of a few hours. You create the setting and the characters and act the whole thing out. Would you be interested in playing a game of it over a video call like this at some point? I've run games of this for other previous guests, such as the writer-producer Brian Patrick O'Toole, who produced Dog Soldiers and wrote... Sorry, what's that?
I love that movie, yeah.
Yeah, he produced Dog Soldiers, and he wrote Evolution and Basement Jack, which are on the Amazon Prime Video, and a few other things. And so you were talking about wanting to get in contact with producers. I could probably introduce the two of you. So I am, given that this game that I've made is meant to emulate B movies like this, I really want to get B movie experts' eyes on
Sure.
it to get useful feedback, and with any
Yeah,
luck.
I'd be interested. We have to make that happen sometime.
All
So,
right.
August is a little bit busy for me due to some film festivals and shopping packed around to distributors and stuff like that. But yeah, I think this sounds like a good time.
All right. Yeah, let's aim for September then. August is also busy for me because of game festivals. So
Very good.
great. And I don't want to keep you past your appointment that you said you had to get to, but
Yes, it is my birthday today, actually. So I'm going out to lunch.
Happy birthday.
I am going out to lunch with my family. So
Oh, that's wonderful.
in
Yeah,
about 30 minutes. So I got to hop on my motorcycle in this beautiful day in Erie, Pennsylvania, and get out to lunch there.
great. Yeah, it was my birthday a few days ago. So
Happy birthday.
happy birthday. Cool. Well, I'll talk with you again later. If you'd like to, at some point, I would love to do a sort of a Leo Fong retrospective, talk about his enormous career from like Enforcer on Death Row all the way up to Pact of Vengeance.
I've talked to Leo many conversations throughout the last 4 years. So sure, I'd love to do that.
All right. We'll arrange that sometime. Thank you so much. And happy birthday, and have a good lunch with your family.
Take care now.
Cheers.
Have a good day, man. Send me a link when it's out, okay?
Will do.
All right, sir. I'm on my motorcycle. I'm out of here. So thanks again. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Talk to you later.
Yes, sir.